Welcome to episode 26, everybody. I am your main host, Coach YoYo. We have co-host, Coach Nik as well. We have Colton in the background. And we have a very, very, very special guest today.
Those three varies.
Very special guest today. His name is Brad Jensen. You guys might know him under Sober Bodybuilder on social media. He's a really, really big fitness influencer and a coach here in Utah. One of the best coaches that I've have a pleasure to mentor under. And here's Brad. What's up, dude?
Oh man, that was a great intro. I spilled my energy drink while doing it. And I got my kids' shit on my shirt. That was nice. Thank you, dude. I feel the same way about you guys. I was just telling you before we hit record that one of your clients has been my insurance guy. We got sober together and literally within 30 days of each other. So we were on this journey the whole entire time together.
Yeah. Ryan.
Yeah. We're one of the few that kind of are still, there was like a group of 8 or 9 of us that kind of like linked up early in sobriety. And I think me and him and maybe one other person are still sober. So, he was asking me about other coaches in the industry, and I was just like, yeah. And I was like, he's like, well, what do you think about Yo? And I was like, oh, his team does a really good job. Like, they do it right. Like,
thanks, dude.
We have very similar methodologies on how we go about things and understanding the whole person, the internal health, not just external results. And yes, the transformation of before and after is legit, and when you get a great one, but some of the best transformations we have as coaches, like with what we do, maybe aren't the best like physical transformations, but people like not being scared to like eat food anymore. And like, that's the real prize. And there's coaches out there that have probably more transformations than I do externally, but it's like, what extent did they have to go to get that, that result? And some of them I see are super quick, and I'm like, God damn, that was like, what did you have
30
to do?
days.
Yes,
to
get that
30 days with a little bit of trizapatide.
Yeah, right?
Don't even get me started on that shit.
Just so you guys know, and I wanted to put this out there before we get officially started, is that I met Brad a while ago. Actually, I met Brad at a wedding from a friend of mine, Charles.
Oh,
and I've known Brad for a while, and then Charles had a wedding, and I was a part of the wedding, and I met him there. I'm like, dude, like, I'm so and so, whatever. So he knew me right off the bat, but we never actually met. And since then, we connected, and he brought me into his podcast, and that podcast was one of my very first podcasts that I've ever done. Period. And I was so inspired by that. And I ask a lot of questions, and so I asked Brad if I could, if he could essentially be my mentor in terms of the podcast and the business side of things. And I told him what we wanted to do and what we wanted to achieve with our podcast, with our clients and things like that. And you said something like, dude, that's really, really cool. Because you had a friend that did that are doing the same thing too, right?
Yeah.
And when I told you what we wanted to do, just kind of showcase our clients' journey, and you were really impressed.
Yeah. Well, dude, and you were really good on there. You had a natural flow, especially for being your first one, or maybe one of your first. I don't know if you'd done a small one.
My very first one.
Yeah. Oh, your very first one. So you did really good. And when people, I think it's, if you got that it factor to be able to carry a message in long form content with a podcast, you might as well do it. Not everyone does. Some people are really good at short form, right? Like quick little reels, but you get them on a YouTube video, like a blog or a podcast, and they like freeze up. I've had some like bigger name influencers on my podcast that I love their shit, but then in a 50-minute conversation, I was like, oof, I don't know where to go with this. Like,
there's a lag.
Yeah. And you were really good. So I was like, it just makes perfect sense, dude. And I love that you guys showcase your clients. And I think it's a really good business idea. So
thanks, man. I appreciate it. So we're going to get into our very, very first question. So we're going to do a little bit of introductions, right? So we want to get to know, what your stories are. Why did you start coaching? And you said you were sober for more than 10 years now?
It'll be 12 years in next month, November.
Congrats, man.
Wow.
Congrats, man.
Thank you.
So yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get started? Why did you get started?
Getting into the industry?
Yeah.
So I was a fat kid growing up. I'll sum this up pretty quick, but I was, chubby and made fun of, like, by my friends mostly, but that still sucks. Like, you don't want to be like, they're like, oh, we have extra pizza. They're like, Brad's fat, he'll eat it. And I'm like, screw you. Like that's how I felt. I was like,
wait, what?
Yeah. They would just like talk shit, like little jokes, but it wasn't getting like bullied where like just random strangers were coming up and being like fatty, but
it
my
still
friends
affects you.
would. Yeah.
And,
I hung out with kids who had rib cages, and we called those abs. They were just skinny, right? We were 12.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like,
They're not.
We don't
abs,
know any
they're
better
just-
at 12.
So they'd make fun of me, and I'm just like, all right.
I didn't know you were chubby. growing
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, I'll find a picture and send it to you. I mean, listen, like if I go back and give that 12-year-old kid a hug and just be like, dude, you're like just haven't hit your growth spurt yet.
Yeah.
You like food a little too much. Like you're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't like huge, but I was bigger than any of my friends. So of course I was made fun of. So when I was 15, I picked up a magazine. I meant like, I saw this guy, big jack black dude, which like made no sense because I'm white. I wasn't jacked, and I was like, I don't remember who it was. Maybe Flex Wheeler or somebody. I don't remember. This is what 1990,
It's gotta be
2000.
Flex. Oh, or
Okay.
Ronnie. Yeah, that.
Yeah,
Ronnie
yeah.
back
And I was
there.
like, I want to look like that guy. I was like that. That's like. So I picked up a magazine and just started reading it. And I was just like, it was the first thing I'd ever been passionate about in my whole entire life. Like I was just fascinated. And I remember there was a diet in there, and looking back, it was probably for like a bikini girl competitor, because I remember it was like 4 egg whites, a half a grapefruit, and like a little bit of oatmeal in the morning. It was like my whole breakfast.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh.
I remember that vividly because I hated grapefruit, and I was like, oh man, but I like thought I had to eat it. So I'd ripped the page out when we were at the bookstore, and I took it, and I was like, begged my mom to go to the grocery store because I have a license yet, and she was like, you need to go back and pay for that. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. So I got super into it. And that was actually when I was like 14. And then, dude, transformed my body. I didn't lift weights yet. So then I hit a growth spurt. And then I just got really skinny because I didn't understand anything about what I was doing. I just like, I tried to look at calories. And so then when I turned 16, I got a gym pass. And that's when I really fell in love with this because, I found the power of weights and like what it did, and I transformed my body. I was hooked. I came back my junior year of high school. I spent my whole sophomore year just going to the gym any chance I could get. And the hottest girl in school who didn't know I existed the year before was like all into me, and I'm like, I literally sat behind you in math class, bitch. I'm like, come on, like, I was like, and it clicked. I was like, okay. And it was actually something I've had to battle, like, really do a lot of intentional work on. Is I associated with, okay, if you're big and you're jacked, like that means you're good. Yep. Like you've got it made.
Yep.
Which is just not the case. We all
No,
know.
no.
In fact, the most, you guys can relate, the most jacked and ripped I've ever been. It was probably the most miserable. Not just because like you have to diet down to such ridiculous
Yeah, you don't feel
degrees.
good.
No.
At all.
Yeah. Like
And the whole process,
physically.
like, why the hell are we doing this?
Seriously.
And then now we're like, God, that's all I want to do.
Yeah. Look back at
no
pictures and
sense.
you're like, all right.
Yeah, no.
And so, anyways, that was the fitness side of it. But then there was another side that I'll just kind of sum up really quick. I've told this story so many times, but obviously we talked about I'm in recovery. And so I had started drinking when I was like 13 and getting teased. And I actually really loved alcohol because I didn't care that they were making fun of me. In fact, I laughed at myself with them, and then like we were all laughing together. And I would imitate these Chris Farley skits and like
Chippendales.
and Matt Foley, Van Down by the River, like Saturday Night Live skit. Maybe too young for that.
No,
just kidding.
I remember.
I love that shit. I used to watch that all the time.
And it was, I thought this was better. It was a better alternative to have them laugh like with me instead of at me. But then I quit drinking because I found out how bad it is for your physical fitness, and I was obsessed with that. So I quit drinking, but I still like wanted to party. But so when I was a junior in high school, I went to a party and I was with a guy. And before we went in, I had to have my muscle milk light, dude. I'm drinking the ready to drink, like that Fairlife right there, but it was a muscle milk. And he was like, everyone makes fun of you after you leave, right? That you just like drink protein shakes. And I was like, I don't care. I was like, dude, that's why I look better than everyone. And he was like, well, I got this stuff. If you want to get fucked up, like, they're pain pills. And this is how naive I was still at the time. I'm like, I'm not in any pain, dude. And he was like, no, bro, they'll make you feel like you're drunk, but with no hangover. And then all he had to say was one line that was actually factually incorrect. He said, all the bodybuilders are doing it. And I was like, what? Oh, they are? Okay. This is like not true. Like one guy he knows that was a bodybuilder took them. Like occasionally. That was it. Like, and I took them, and I remember where I was. I don't remember shit about high school, but I remember that split level entry house, these brown cabinets, red Solo cups everywhere. It's those moments where like you can go back to and just remember vividly. And I remember because when the feeling hit me, I thought this is the feeling I want the rest of my life. Like I was in love.
Oh, you were hooked.
I loved it, dude. I was like,
that quick.
Whoa, yes, like just enthralled. And that started on basically an 11-year addiction, and it quickly progressed from, taking some occasional pain pills to doing Oxycontin. That's back when the pill mills were really popular. This is by the time I'm a senior, and I'm taking trips down to Tijuana, Mexico. I go down there, I'd go across the border, I'd go to the pharmacies, and I'd get a bunch of steroids, and I'd get a bunch of narcotics, muscle relaxers, pain pills, oxys, and I'd put them in my door panel. I'd zip those back on, throw on a sombrero, and go through the border. And the first time I was scared. I was like, shit. And like we got through, and I was like,
wait, so you went to Mexico and get all of that?
Yeah.
And smuggle it into...
Yes. No idea the amount of federal felonies I was committing.
Yeah.
Like drug trafficking through country lines.
Yeah.
I was 17, 18, and I was just like, oh, whatever. And that's where my entrepreneurship began. I joke, I started selling steroids and pills to all these different high school kids.
And you kept going back to the border and
so I went a total of 3 times. I thought it was 4. My mom corrected me when I heard one of my podcasts. I was like, thanks, Mom. Because that all came out later. And
how much would you spend at a time down there?
I'm trying to remember. Like, that's, it's actually a horrible deal down there. I only know because I went to a pharmacy a couple years ago when I was in Mexico, and I was like, $80 for some tests. I was like, and like, I didn't even like ask about the pain pills, but I was like, yeah, it's not even a good deal anymore. But back then it was, I probably like $3 or $4 grand. But that was a lot back then. That would turn it into like, so I'd collect people. The first time I collected everyone's money, went down, got it. And then after that, I started selling it. And then I had enough where I'm like, I'll go buy all this, then I'll sell it. And that's where I started using Oxycontin every single day. And by the time I was graduating high school, I'd been doing it for like 4 or 5 months straight. And if you guys know anything about opiates, I mean, you use it for 3 weeks straight, and you develop a physical tolerance. And so I'd heard about these things called withdrawals. People had talked about them, but like I'd never really experienced them. And the people I was selling to, I wasn't selling to junkies coming banging on my window like, give me my fix at 2 a.m. They were high school kids doing them on weekends. And so I knew these withdrawals and like detox was a real thing. I just really underestimated how bad it was going to be. And so the day came that, I got certified as a personal trainer when I was still in high school, and I got a job at a place called Bally Total Fitness. It closed a long time
I remember
ago.
Bally. My dad used to go there.
Dude, like...
Are you local to Utah? Like this all took place here, born and raised. What part of Utah?
Murray.
Murray? Okay, so just a little bit up north.
Yeah.
Are you still in that area?
No, I live in Harriman now.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately.
Gotcha.
Gotta get out of there.
it's pretty far out there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie.
And it's... so the day came, I stopped everything.
Did your mom know about this at the time or not till later?
Yeah, no, they had no idea. They knew I was partying a little, but I was the youngest of 5 kids. My parents were kind of tired at that point, dude. Like, I was the youngest of 5. My parents are 77 and 72 right now. I'm 40, so they were gonna be done, and then and then I came along.
Surprise!
And so,
Dang.
they gave me some leash, but I was really good. We were talking with somebody else for the pie. I was really good about always I love you, Mom. And I think she figured I was partying, doing a little drinking on the weekends, but they had no idea the extent. They had some guy had started going down from a different high school that I knew doing the same thing, and he got busted down there, and so he got stuck in a Mexican prison. It was all over the news, and I was thinking, I'm way too pretty to go to prison. I'm not. And I was like, you know what? My high school girlfriend, who was my high school sweetheart, she broke up with me on our senior night. She said, she basically said, you're a loser. You love drugs. You sell drugs. I'm trying to do something with my life. We're done. Yeah. And I remember I was like, whatever, see ya. I mean, I was sad, but I was like, I'm not going to give up drugs. Are you kidding me? Yeah. And, it hit me. I was like, all right, I finally got a job as a personal trainer. It's time to just clean up and not do this. So I used what I had. I ran out a couple weeks later, and I was like, all right, I think I'll be they say these withdrawals, you're a little sick. Dude, I cannot even describe. Withdrawals are that's the one reason opiate addicts continue to use. At some point, it's not even really doing much anymore. It's just the withdrawals are so awful. It's the worst flu times 10 that you've ever had, plus a borderline panic attack at all times. It's the psychological too of I feel like I can't breathe. You're shaking, you're shivering. And it hit me, and I was like, holy shit. And so I called a friend, and he said, my brother's got something to come over. So I went over, and that thing was heroin. And I remember that was the line in the sand I drawn. That's for junkies. That's for people who live in bridges. I don't do heroin. I snort some pills, but come on. And I said no at first. Took me about 20 seconds. And I was like, give it to me. Let me see it. So I shot up. And I remember after I shot up, that kid who's actually dead now, sadly, but he came up to me and said, "Hey, kid, I apologize. Your life's never going to be the same." And I was like, "Oh, what was that? I'm not going to keep using, dude."
What
like,
did you shoot up exactly?
Heroin.
Heroin, yeah.
Okay.
I remember thinking, like, in my head, I was like, I'm not going to keep using this. Like, heroin's dirty. Like, people lose their lives on heroin.
You thought it was going to be like a one and done to
I
get
had
you
no
over the
plan
withdrawal.
of how I was going to, like, withdraw the next day and the next day. And so I just kept using. And so that went on for the next 10 years. And I ended up in my
10
first
years.
treatment center
Wow.
about 6 months into using heroin. And, the gig was up. My parents knew. I didn't live with them at the time, but they knew. They were heartbroken. I remember, my mom was starting to get suspicious, but I called her. And I was like, "Hey, I need to go to rehab. I need help." She's like, "What? What are you doing?" And I said, "Heroin." And she dropped the phone. She was like, "Holy shit." And so they put me in a nice treatment center, and, I got out and just kept doing the same shit. And so for the next 10 years, sorry, that story went on way too long. It was just incomprehensible demoralization, dude. It was just filled with, just insanity. When I look at that 10 years, I would go on binges. So I'd go 3 or 4 months and get sober, and then I'd relapse and I'd go for like 4 or 5 months hard, demolish everything in my life. So dude, that 10 years went on, and homelessness, went in and out of jail, I do 3 months here, 6 months here, 4 months here. Anyways, I finally get sober in November 20th of 2012, and wow. And I was arrested in a stolen car that I didn't know was stolen. The kid asked me to drive. I said, sure. We get pulled over. And I remember I'd been praying for the 3 days leading up to that, just make this end. I started getting scared. I started doing meth at the end, and the people I was running around with doing meth were, not good people. I used heroin with, some dudes like me who came from this Mormon family who got strung out. We'd go to their apartment and sit on a banana chair and play Nintendo and do heroin. I started getting into meth, and it was just the craziness of these white supremacists I was hanging out with, the kidnappings I witnessed. There was some gnarly shit that I had to do some intentional therapy on after, because I saw shit I shouldn't have saw. It was the wrong place, wrong time. But when you're hanging out with the wrong people, that's what's going to happen. This isn't rocket science. And so anyways, to sum all that up, because I went on way too long with that, I pray, and I was like, God, I don't know if you know who I am, but I need help. I can't do this. If the drugs don't kill me, I think the people I'm hanging out with are. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't too far. I don't know how much of it was all in my mind, because you start hallucinating when you're on meth. You don't sleep. So finally, I get pulled over, and I was just like, dude, take me to jail. He's like, do you know I pulled you? Well, they weren't that nice. They had a gun pulled. And I'm like, I'm good. I know the car's stolen. Take me to jail. Back away from the car. They take a stolen vehicle pretty seriously. They're not just like, hey, this car's stolen. And they pull you out, and the guy was cool, and he didn't tackle me to the ground or anything. He just made me put my hands up over my head, cuff me, and I was like, bro, take me to jail. I'm going to get dope right now. I don't have any on me, but if I did, you would find it. And, I'm done. And he was like, oh, shit. Okay. He was like,
wow.
Yep. Kind of excited to go. Most homeless people, I'm like, oh, I am homeless. Don't worry. I haven't slept on the streets, but I am homeless. I do not have a home. Yeah. And so that started, dude, the last 12 years of my journey, dude. And I'm so grateful for everything I went through to get me to the place I'm at today. I think it's gave me such perspective and gratitude. Mm-hmm. And it's been kind of there's so many principles in my recovery that I've built my business off of. And so, the first 4 or 5 years, I was not grateful I went through it. I was like, shit, I'm so far behind. You're getting sober at 28 with nothing to your name. I owned a garbage bag full of belongings. That was it. No credit. Horrible credit. No bank accounts. No nothing. Wow. And my parents didn't give me shit, because they gave me so much shit during my addiction, paying for $50,000 rehabs,
wow,
$20,000 rehab, this, that, hospital stays, and they give me shit, and I'm so grateful for that, dude. Mm-hmm. I had to learn to make this work, and so, dude, I got right back in the fitness industry shortly after, and dude, that's flash forward to where I'm at today. There's a lot that's happened in between there, but I finally, just like when you get a client that you're like, dude, if you just did what I'm telling you, this is not actually hard. To get in pretty good shape, not to get in fucking really good shape. There's a lot more strategy, but to get in pretty good shape from really bad shape is actually not that hard.
It's just
for
effort.
most people. Yeah. It's that does not mean, just because it's simple does not mean it's easy to execute.
No.
But it was all these simple principles people kept telling me along the way to stay sober. I finally was just like, fuck it, I'm going to do them all.
Yeah.
I'm going to do them all. They told me, like, you know, go to meetings. So I went to meetings. They said this. They said, change all your friends. They said, change your phone number. I did everything. I got a job. I was just like, I'm willing to finally do anything they've told me to do along the way. And wouldn't you know, like a year later, I'm like, holy shit, it worked.
Yeah.
And it's like,
But
you
it
get that
takes,
same
but
feeling.
it took you a year.
Yeah.
Yes.
To recognize.
I mean, like,
right?
yeah, like along the way, it was still this like fear of like, because I would get 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, like Colton was saying, and then just demolish it. So I'd get like a new little milestone of 6 months. And people were like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. I'm like, I'm not yet. I don't know if I can do this. Like holding on. When I finally hit that year, I just like broke down and cried. And I was like, holy shit. Because the chances of you staying sober, once you get a year, I forget the statistic, but it is like 90% higher if you can get that 1 year under your belt. And I was finally just like, holy shit, like everything. And you guys see that with clients. Like, this might take you a year, but if you just follow what we're saying, you don't even have to be perfect. You just have to be consistent. I was not perfect on everything. I screwed up a lot in some behaviors. They told me not to date a girl, so I got in some relationships super fast, and they were like, it's probably going to end up bad, and then it did end up bad, but I didn't have to drink or use over it, but there was mistakes I made along the way. But when I look at the body at work, I was really consistent with all the habits, rituals, and routines they were asking me to do. Just like with a client. Like, it's like, I don't even need you to be perfect. I just need you to be consistent, own your shit, and in a year, you'll be amazed where you're at.
But that year is going to go by regardless. That's what people forget. And so they don't want to put in the work because, well, it's going to take a year. Anything can happen in that year. It's like, well, true. But if you just stay focused, the year's going to go by. So you might as well just do that versus say, fuck it, I give up. And then you're in the same place, if not worse.
Yes.
I know we have a lot of clients listening and watching this podcast. And the number one thing that I always talk about is like, look, I have 24-week program.
Yeah.
But if you want to continue on the 24 weeks, you have to earn it. That's how we coach. We don't just sign you up just because you want to give us $1 million and then you want to do another 24. Because at the end of the day, that 24 weeks, after a year, you are our walking business card, right? Yep. And so you represent our brand. So I always tell my clients, I'm like, look, we have a 24-week program. I'm going to tell you right now, the first 24 weeks is literally a trial and error to see if this is something that you can stick to, to see if this is something that you want to do. Because it's hard. Yeah. Like, people don't understand. Yes, it's easy to go from, you know, the dad bod to great bod, right? But for a lot of our lifestyle, we always have to say, look, for 6 months, we can get 0.1 and 2. But if you want to get to a point, you know, to get to a 10 higher, or higher, it's going to take you a year. Yeah. The first year you work on yourself. The second year, that's when you can show it off. Because the second year, that's when you start to feel good, you look good, taking more selfies, taking more pictures, you're wearing bikinis and things like that, you know, right? So a lot of our clients, and when we post our transformation, they typically take 8 to 12 or more months of that transformation from point A to point B.
Well, that's the other thing I think people don't really understand is that when we see these transformations that other coaches in the industry post, they do say, you know, look, so-and-so did in 30 or 60 days. That's not realistic. Yeah. So when you're seeing the side by side, you're like, holy shit. So if I just do that for 30 days, I'm going to look like that. It's like, well, yes, but at what sacrifice? But at the same time, no, you're not going to look like that. You're going to look even shittier because of what you're doing to yourself. People just see the side by side and think, oh, okay, so it is easy to look like that. But they don't see the behind the scenes. They don't see the texts that we get late at night. Like, dude, I fucked up and I ate a whole pizza tonight. Like, okay, well, maybe shouldn't do that, but let's talk when I see you next week. Figure out what the emotion was so we can overcome that. They don't see the bringing your Tupperware to family gatherings and your family giving you shit because of what you're eating. They don't see coworkers making fun of you or actually being rude to you for what you're eating. They don't see the mental side, the unlearning habits, trying to learn new ones, having to say no, which a lot of people struggle with.
Learning how to say no is probably one of the hardest
Seeing
things.
a side-by-side is one thing, but that's why we showcase all the behind the scenes. Yeah. So people, you really know what you're getting into.
Let's say, everyone's always jealous of what you got, but they're not jealous of how you got it, right?
100%.
It's really easy to want the mountaintop without the climb. And
exactly.
And when I say it's really not that hard, I mean just like tactically, like let's stay. And that, there's, you know, it's not like there's other clients, like menopausal women or people like, you know, severely metabolically adapted. Like I'm not saying like everything is just like eating a calorie deficit, prioritize your protein, prioritize food quality, get your, you know, movement in, get your workouts in, get your sleep. Like I'm not saying those are like, I'm just saying it's not that the roadmap is for most people is actually not But that does not mean it's easy. It is so hard.
It is hard.
It is so hard because you start going through. It's like for us, it's easy, and when people do that more, it's like, oh, it just become like habit. You just a habit is something
It's
you
the same
do
way
enough
we do our
time.
hair and brush our teeth in the morning.
You subconsciously do it,
Yeah.
both positive and negative.
Yep.
And but there is just because something is tactically. Like, okay, it's actually not that hard. Like, I don't have to, like, if I'm trying to go from 35% to 25%, I don't have to, like, carb cycle and do these crazy things.
No.
What I'm saying is, though, but it is not easy to execute. And that's why coaching is so valuable, because there's such a mental and the sociological component of this. You know, like, fuck off if you're going to give someone shit because of your insecurities for, like, not eat. Like, when I hear that shit, it boils my blood. I'm like, go ahead and tell your Aunt Kathy to eat shit. Because, like, I'm like, let me guess, she's overweight. And they're like,
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
oh.
Like you said, when you were young and you were overweight, people make fun of you if you're overweight. People make fun of you if you're healthy. And we had a client on here that said the same thing. You got to choose your heart. It's hard to be fat and unhealthy, and it's hard to be healthy.
Like,
you know, it doesn't matter. Like
the first couple years of me doing this, the only person in my family who really understood was my dad. Is because he never competed, but he lifted like he was a bodybuilder, and he was a pro soccer player, and he was always healthy, and that's how I got into it. But my mom, like sadly I have no relationship with her, but the amount of times she would make comments that I'm just like my dad, and why the hell do you eat the same shit all the time, and do you think you're better than people, and you come over here and rub it in my face. I'm like, I'm just eating chicken. It's chicken and rice, dude. Like,
We're not
what am I
trying to rub
doing?
anything in anybody's
No,
face.
it's like
right?
I'm tired of feeling like shit, and I'm tired. Like, eating this chicken and rice is what's keeping me from going back to my depression.
And I think
it tastes like shit, but I'd rather eat something that tastes like shit than feel like shit.
And I think that's what makes us a good coach, because we've been through it. We know what it's like to be in that environment, such a toxic environment. And I told my clients all the time, it took my family and both my wife's family 2 years for them to stop asking me, hey, yo, when are you going to be done eating that? Hey, yo, when are you going to be done going to the gym? Hey, yo. And I'm like, took them 2 years, dude. And people quit because they can't handle it for 6 months or less.
Yeah.
Right. And
Well, they see that we can do it, and like, well, why the hell is it so easy for Yo to do this? I can't do that. I tried and I gave up. Like, why does it seem so easy for you to do it? It's like, it's not fucking easy. I do not want to eat this. But
So you started at Total Health and Fitness before Key Nutrition.
Yeah.
So your company brand at the time, it's called, after that, it was Key Nutrition, right?
Yeah.
So how long were you with Total Health and Fitness?
So I got sober in November 2012. I ran into the guy who owns Total Health and Fitness. Rest in peace. He's dead too. Drugs. His was sneaky though. It was like high professional pain pills, like on the back end, and we're like, we know what you're doing, motherfucker.
so sad.
February of 2013. So I'd been sober like maybe 60, 90 days. Yeah. And I was waiting tables. And just trying to grind, like just get some money. It's the only place that would hire me. I'm a convicted felon. And I was just like, all right. And I ran into him, and I had worked for him in 2008. And I relapsed, and then I quit before, because I was like, I'm not burning another bridge. I'm just quitting. I made up some fucking crazy story that I had to move to Georgia, because I knew, I'm like, once I put that needle in my arm, I'm like, I am not even remotely showing my face in there. I am not burning another bridge in another place. And so I called him, was just like, I got to quit. And he was like, I think I had like 12 clients. It wasn't like maybe 14 or something. It wasn't like a lot, but I was like, you got to let my clients, I was not going to. And so when I met, he was like, whatever happened to that thing with Georgia? I'm like, oh, I was just getting high, dude. And I was just super transparent with him. And he was like, where are you working? Just here's the only place. I said, yeah, I just got out of jail not too long ago. I'm a felon. Yeah. You know, I want to get back into it, but I don't know. I just got to stay sober. That's my main priority. And he was like, well, let's chat. So he gave me a job. He gave me a chance. And I'm super grateful for that. So I worked there from 2013 to 2017. And then that's when his addiction started to get bad.
Wow.
And it became very obvious. And when you're not getting your direct deposit because checks aren't clearing, that's like, I had thought about like leaving, but you know, Mike worked with me too. He had bailed like in the middle of the night, about a month, maybe 2 months before me. I felt this pull to like, Rick's wife had reached out to me and like was like, can you help him? So I was trying to help him stay sober and like meeting him there early in the morning to like do some recovery work and like pray together. Like, and so I felt this loyalty to, one, he gave me a shot, and two, I'm like, maybe I can help this guy. Like I'd worked up to being the top guy there, and maybe it was 3 months. And then finally when the money stopped coming in, I was like, all right, And
Only so
he
much you
stopped
can
even
do.
showing up for our morning things. So I'd get there hella early, and I'd be like, you got to be kidding me, because, you know, he just wasn't in his right mind. And so addiction starts to win over. And so I went into him before I left, and I just said, hey, dude, I'm not going to leave in the middle of the night like everyone else. I'm going to look you right in the face. I'm going to tell you I'm leaving, and I would have stayed if you could get your shit together. But this has been going on 2 years. I've been trying to help you.
Yeah.
And so I said, you know, I said eventually I was going to leave, Rick, but I basically said, I have no other choice. Like, you know what? Like, if you can get me paid, cool, but I doubt you can. Like, so I left, and I basically said, I said, don't even worry about doing that, but I'm taking all my clients. Don't try to come after them. Like, these are my clients now.
Yeah.
Like, you screwed up. And so I started in 2017. And so that was, what are we, 2024?
Yeah, 7 years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So immediately after that, that's when you started Key Nutrition?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just knew nothing about business, probably like you. I like watch Shark Tank and listen to Gary Vaynerchuk. That was my fucking business, IQ, EQ on that.
Yeah.
And like, I was like, all right, well, so I went. I made a lot of mistakes early on. I'm sure you did too. I bought like $8,000 worth of blender bottles when we first started. I did not have $8,000 to spend on blender bottles, but like, I'm like, who's going to sign up with a company? They're like, what is that blender bottle? And they're like, Key Nutrition. They're like, I want in. Like, I made a lot of mistakes, but I'm so grateful for all those mistakes, because you know that the only way you get good at shit is by being bad.
Failing. Yeah.
Like, you're bad at first. When clients have been with you like fucking 6 weeks, and they completely have they have this plan. They're going to go on this little girls trip, and they're going to do good, and they come back and they fucking shit the bed.
Yep.
And you're like, I'm like,
yeah,
I mean,
I'm
it
not
makes sense.
surprised.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like,
Of course that's going
you've
to
never
happen.
done this before.
Yeah, we warn them ahead of time, like,
Yeah.
hey, here's what I'd want you to do. Let me know what
Yeah.
you need. And they come back, I did not follow anything you said. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
figured.
I'm just
like,
covering my ass by
Yeah,
telling you what
yes,
I want you to do. So
exactly.
when you come back, you don't get mad at me for you coming back 20 pounds heavier because you're bloated as shit.
Yeah, for real. And then I'm like, now the real coaching can begin.
Yeah.
What did we learn? Like, you know, what can we do better next time? You know? And so, yeah, dude. So then we just rebranded, mostly because I have a self-development program, kind of our top tier offer, called the Next Level Experience, that I run 3 times a year. It's small cohorts of individuals, but it's a really deep dive, 4 months. There's a coaching component, but it's much more on the mental, emotional, physical, spiritual side. Like, I have a therapist that helps me. We got success coaches, life coaches.
And you have does Jen gets involved in your coaching level as well?
Just to do some breathwork sessions in
Yeah.
there. So, and so everyone was like, wait, what's your business? And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm just rebranding the whole company to Next Level Coaching. So Next Level Experience, Next Level Nutrition, and then we have our community, the Next Level Community. So,
And you do everything online?
yeah, we still have a brick and mortar. So we don't have a gym like you guys do. And so we still have some people that come in person. It's not really any different. We still do. I have a physical location, and we had this company kind of linked up with Routine Health and Hormones. So they do, hormones and labs, and I had empty space, and I was thinking about getting rid of the office, and they approached me and they're like, can we collab and move in? I was like, sure. So I still go into work every day, even though I don't have to. I could work from home, but I am so much more efficient in the office.
Oh my God.
So
Dude,
yeah,
it's so hard
Everyone I
for me to
know
work at
loves
home.
that they work at home. Like, I wouldn't
I
get a
cannot do
single
it.
fucking thing done if I worked at home.
And then my son comes in here, knocks on the door. Dad, you want to go ride a bike? And I'm like, bro, like, I'm in the middle of consultation right
yeah,
now.
oh yeah. They don't get it.
They don't
Then
understand.
you like have dad guilt because you're like,
You're like, oh, I gotta work, but
man.
yeah, I'm still gonna go to work when my daughter's that age. She's 6 months old right now, so it's easy to just drop her off with family friend to watch her, and I go to work. But when she can start asking for shit, and I can't tell my wife no, and she's a carbon copy of her mom, so I'm not gonna tell her no to think.
Yeah.
I can't be home. Like, no, I gotta. I'm gonna leave.
yeah.
All right, we're going to move on to the next question. So, this one is a good one because you are, I would consider, one of the biggest fitness influencer here in Utah.
Oh,
locally.
that's a weird term.
Yeah, it is. It is. I know. So, what are your challenges on being a fitness influencers? On social media, on you. Do you have YouTube channels or just TikTok or just Instagram?
Yeah, I do have a TikTok. I don't utilize it much.
Yeah. I don't either.
No, we do have a YouTube channel. We're starting to grow it just barely, but mostly through podcasts.
Yeah. And the biggest thing that I want to do, like the reason why I want to ask is what are the challenges of being a fitness influencer? Because I know you get a lot of negative comments.
A lot of keyboard warriors.
A lot of keyboard warriors. And the last question that I want to ask on top of that is, what changes would you like to see in the fitness industry in terms of the fitness influencers out there?
Advice being
are
given,
advising
coaching.
such a horrible, bad information, and it puts us in a bad situation sometimes because clients will be like, "Hey, I heard this," and I'm like, "Who did you hear that from? Where did you hear that from?"
Social media.
Oh my
Gary
god!
Brecka said I shouldn't eat this. I'm
But
like,
the
"He
biggest
can
one is
eat
actually
shit."
from TikTok. I get a lot of questions. Oh, I saw this on TikTok, and I'm like,
Yeah.
first of all,
even
it's
worse.
TikTok. Yeah.
TikTok. Well, yeah. I mean, first off, it's funny the term fitness influencer always like gives me the heebies because there's so many piece of shits out there that like identify with that term, and I was like, I really never set out to grow like a following. I mean, I did because attention's the asset, but as you guys know, with like, I mean, you can have 2,000 followers and have $1 million business. This isn't like, it's not one for, just the more attention you get does not mean you have to get qualified attention. Like, and that's why always coming back to, really treating your clients right and relying on that than like Joe Schmo on the internet who has 90 million options is going to pick you. And that's what along the way, I just was like, I need to start growing more of a personal brand. Key Nutrition was doing well. It was 2019. I hit up my friend Jordan Syatt. I don't know, Syatt Fitness. I don't know if you guys follow Jordan, but, and I was like, dude, I need you to help me. Like, I want to grow a following. And I tell that I didn't really know how to produce content. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know. I'm like, yeah, I could just like throw stuff up, but I was like, I want to build a little bit of a following. And so I guess I did intend to set up, but never like at a certain point, I was just like, if I can just get more eyeballs on the business, that's good.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, first off, your content sucks ass. And I was like, thanks. But
He said that to you?
Yeah. He was
That's the
like,
positive talk you
Yeah,
needed
yeah,
that
that was
day.
great.
I was like, thanks, dude. He was like, your caption says if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. That's it. And I'm like, that's it. He goes, that's lame, dude. No shit. And I was like, all right, I won't do that. I mean, he kind of laughed, and I'm like, I don't know if to laugh or cry. But I hired a coach, and that's why I tell that. Like, I didn't know what I was doing, so I hired a coach.
Yeah.
I am all about the fuck, bro. If I don't know how to do something, I'm like, who knows how to do it and does it better than me? I'm hiring them. Jordan personal trained Gary Vaynerchuk for the better part of 3 years, which was a crazy story. That whole he had to fly everywhere.
Yeah.
All over the world. Like, you'd never do that with kids. But he learned so much about content and producing content and attention and how to get it. And so I hired somebody who knew how to do it better than me. And that's I mean, so for any of your clients listening that have hired you guys, like, fucking good job, because people like to think they can just do it on their own. And I'm like, how can I save time and save money? And you don't think it's saving money, but it is saving money by me investing. Like, tell clients, like, I'm sure you guys feel the same way. Give me money for a year, and I promise you I will save money for the rest of your life.
Yes.
Like, if you can, ultimately, it's up to them once they finish. Like, how are you going to continue these habits? And so, anyways, I really, really appreciated that, and he helped me a lot. And I got, and, content creation is a funny game, like, if you're really trying to be strategic about it. I mean, it's like after so many times, I've been posting almost
Post
daily.
every day. Right?
Almost, yeah. Now it's probably 5 times a week. I give myself some grace, and I'm kind of at a phase where I'm not like necessarily like trying to grow so much. I'm like really redirecting my content to speak to our target audience. Who we want. Yeah, and so maybe less like virality. Although I had a good one the other day. I thought it would fucking go viral, and it didn't. See? And that's the thing about social media. If you are producing content, the ones you think are going to do good generally don't. The ones that I'm like, that's shit, let's just put it up, do well.
And then it does,
Which makes me question people's IQs out there. Like, but, dude, the negative comments, so they used to really get to me. I'll just be totally transparent.
Well, remember when I called you?
Yeah.
I called them. So
Which one? Which time was this?
Well, the problem was I started to grow my social media and creating more content. But the thing is, I've already got IG on point. But then I started copying everything to Facebook.
Yep, me too.
Then the Facebook one.
Facebook is the wild, wild west of
Wild
degenerates,
West,
dude.
man. That the algorithm there, I don't know what's going on, but it reaches some random Chad in the world.
Dude, some dude
to the
living
point
his
where-
double wide eating them fucking meatloaf was like talking shit on me for having a seed oil. It's like,
And I remember I was that week I was having like 1 or 2, 3 negative comments on certain things, and then I reached out to Brad and I was like, bro, you have a minute?
hell?
He was like, yeah. So I called him and me and him chat. I'm like, did you ever get? I know the answer to this because I've seen it on your social media. And how would you react to it? And you said to me, and I remember this, and you said, stop worrying about the negative comments because you're always going to get criticized. It doesn't matter where you're at in your life. You do good, you get criticized. You do bad, you get criticized. Criticized. Just keep focus on you and just keep posting. And I'm like, cool. Now, after that day, I'm like, yeah, I'm good.
Well, to me, when I get those, it's like they don't know me personally, so I'm not going to take it personally.
Right? Yeah, and dude, your brains are fascinating too. How you could have, I could have 99 amazing comments telling me how great I am, and I get that one.
There's always
and
one.
they hit a trigger point too, and I'm like, that's all I fixate on. My fiance does it 10 times worse. I'm like, babe, literally everyone says you're great. Like this. Karen at her house in Alabama doesn't think you're great. Who cares? And it's always, it's their perception of me is the reflection of them. But the key here is my reaction to them is the awareness in me. And what I mean by that is when I'm in good flow in my life, I'm feeling good. I'm like, I feel like I'm being the man. I'm waking up. I'm going to bed feeling good about the man I was today, both physically, career-wise, how I showed up in my relationship and my fatherhood. Man, like I'll legitimately laugh at some of them. I'm like, that's pretty good, dude. I agree. Like I do. Like you should enjoy a can of Rogaine. I'm like, I do. I do every night, and it's still not working.
Remember that one comment they were talking about your bumps in your arms? I don't even understand what that means.
Yeah, I don't know.
The veins?
No,
like the bump. What bump?
I can't remember what the comment was.
I don't know.
And, well, what are you focused on the bumps in your arms? I don't know if I'm talking about tattoos or what.
Yeah, one guy said he looks like a big dumb refrigerator with magnets all over it. And I was like, that was funny as shit, dude. It makes
that's what you should have been for Halloween.
Like the one on my neck kind of looks like a magnet. But there's times when I'm not doing all those things. I'm not in flow in my life, and next thing you know, I'm fighting with these stupid assholes, and I'm like, because they'll, dude. I remember when I first started getting really hateful comments, like it really upset me I mean, dude, I was like, I'm not even posting anymore. Yep. I archived a reel because I was getting such hate and people were remixing it, talking shit. And I was like, now I would never do that. If I feel good about the piece of content, even if it's just funny, like, dude, take a joke, whatever.
Yeah.
But there's occasional times, most of the time I either respond with like, that's really funny. And then they don't really know where to go from there.
Yeah,
They're like,
they agree with
you.
They're like, no, you're not supposed to like
and
this,
sometimes
dude.
I'll even challenge them back. Like some guy was talking shit and I was like, hey, dude, I noticed you're a real estate agent and you don't post. Do you think it's weird that you're criticizing me when I'm trying to just grow my career? Meanwhile, you have a career. You're a real estate agent and you post nothing. So it's really easy to judge the people who are posting when you're too afraid to post.
Well, it's
we go back and forth and the guy goes, I'll delete my comment, man. That's my bad.
No, it's good, dude. But
he owned it. Yeah. At least he owned it. Because the thing that someone told me, maybe I saw it on social media, and says, you will never be criticized by someone that is doing more than you.
Ever. That was one of my favorite quotes. Yep. Never be criticized by someone who's doing more than you.
Never.
Well, a lot of those people too, they would never say that. Like, imagine bumping into someone in public and they're like, oh, like, I think that's Brad from Instagram. Walk right up to you. Hey, fuck you.
Yeah,
like,
right.
No one would ever do
Your
that.
shit sucks. You're an idiot.
Yeah. Your reels are dog shit. They're going to do what that guy did and be like, yo, it's so good to see you, bro. And then later they're like, fuck that guy.
The only time I would actually do that to someone I saw on social media are the dumbasses who go into grocery stores and film themselves talking shit on all the food.
Have you done that, Brad?
No, they ruined it for all of us. They ruined it for all of us. Dude.
Every time I go to the grocery store,
let's talk about that.
I pray to God when I go to Harmon's, I'm going to run into one of these sons of bitches.
Yeah, when they like look at the box, they're like, this has this in there.
I saw one this morning. I can't remember who it was. He has long hair. He's like kind of balding, but has long hair, and he admitted to having zero background in nutrition or anything. He just did a lot of research. I'm like, fucking good job, Google, dude. But he was grabbing stuff out of this lady's shopping cart. I was like, oh, she's eating broccoli. You can't eat that because of this. Oh, look at her. She has spinach. Like, what kind of an idiot has spinach? It's like this poor woman's just there trying her best, and this douche is just gonna walk in and shit all over her.
I gotta hear Brad's thoughts.
Oh,
on
God
people
damn it.
in the grocery store. There, some of the ones that I saw could be actually pretty good. Doesn't have anything to do with like, hey, this is bad, this is poison.
It's not fear mongering.
It's not fear mongering or just
what I
educational people. Like to kind of educate what better choices, right?
Yeah.
Because our philosophy in our coaching is that there's no such thing as bad food, but there is such thing as better choices of food.
Yeah, of
better
course.
quality.
Yeah.
Of
Better
food,
quality
right?
of food.
Yeah, and that's because we care about people's relationship with food. And when you start labeling shit as good as bad, I mean, dude, I've gotten so much hate when I say that on my Instagram. You wouldn't fucking believe it. And I'm like, says the person who's never worked with somebody who has a horrible relationship with food. Oh, and by the way, you're not even a coach. So thanks for telling me that, like, I'm an idiot. One guy said, you're an imbecile and an embarrassment to your industry that you think there's no bad foods. And I'm like, okay, Craig, 472. Like, bro, I'm in the trenches, I told him. I see this. And the destructive nature of us labeling things as good and bad.
Yes.
Of course, there is more advantageous choices and less. This is like a budget I have to spend every day. And there is a chicken breast is a great deal. I get a ton of value for very little exchange of calories. And a maple bar is not so much.
No.
But sometimes I'm going to choose the maple bar, but most of the time I'm going to choose the chicken breast. And these jackasses just like, that's full of seed oils. I'm like, if you eat it once a week, you're not going to die. I promise.
The seed oils aren't going to kill you. But saying something's good or bad is just it's creating a guilt versus reward type of deal.
Dude, 100%.
And then they eat the maple bar and they feel guilty. And then we have to deal with the repercussions of that, getting them out of that guilt. Like, you can fucking eat the donut.
Then
like,
it goes into
just
guilt,
don't go
the
get
shame,
a dozen of them.
And when they know, okay, I have one and it's fine. Like, but if not, if left unchecked, that guilt turns into shame, which turns into a binge cycle, like real quick. Yeah, dude, their fear. Nick hit it on the head. The problem with it is there's so many fear-mongering dickheads, and they really are. They're cherry-picking things, and they're making it sound like. Listen, I produce content. I get it. If you don't have a polarizing hook, like, you've got to almost be a little controversial at times. And I know the ones I hit posts on that I'm like, that's going to piss people off. Like, stupid shit, like making fun of burpees or something. Saying they're
Always
stupid
make fun of burpees,
Oh, the
period.
CrossFit people came after me hard. Hard,
yeah.
But I knew when I hit posts, I was like, this one's going to do well, and it's also going to get me a lot of shit. It's going to be a lot of people laughing, a lot of people giving me shit. I can deal with that. But what these people are doing is far more destructive. That's like an exercise selection. Like, I don't think I'm ruining anyone's life by telling them that I think burpees is a stupid exercise.
No one's going to open Instagram that morning and see that and like, my whole, like, everything that I want to do with my life is ruined now. Dude. Because Brad said burpees are stupid.
But then picking up vegetables.
Yeah.
A vegetable and saying, all the folates in here are going to get to you. I'm like, my God. Like, what? Come on. That is... Or, the non-organic fruit has pesticides are going to kill you. Oatmeal is now villainized. I mean, one of my clients was like, I thought I was doing good eating the oatmeal. And then I saw a post that's like what they give horses, and it's all the carnivore animal-based people, which, like, whatever. I love meat too. I just think you need a well-rounded diet.
Yeah, you do.
I think we live in a very, very interesting time where people are trying to compete for attention, and they're willing to almost lie in order to get it.
But it's engagement.
It's
right?
engagement.
I was just going to say that.
People know the name now. And so regardless if you're spreading bullshit or not, people know your name. So you're, in turn, going to start making money off of it. But I don't want to make money because I'm scaring the shit out of someone.
Terrified to eat oatmeal. And I'm like,
oatmeal.
Explain to me why bodybuilders can get shredded lean eating oatmeal with soluble and dietary fiber. There's so many. And I'm like, they're like the glyphosates. I'm like, hey, then cool, get an organic one. I don't care. Like, get a gluten-free organic one if you want.
But it's all fine.
Oatmeal is never going. Like, that is not the root of why we're unhealthy in like America.
No, it's food. It's food choices, and it's what's available. It's easier for my clients to go buy McDonald's than it is for them to go buy chicken breast and vegetables,
But not
even
only that,
rice, cook it, spend the time doing it, and then they have to eat it and see other people eating it. But it's like, okay, so I can't eat oatmeal, can't have vegetables. Oh, bananas are bad. The coffee creamer that the chick said at Costco is just putting cancer in your coffee.
Yes,
can't have that now.
Exactly,
so it's like, what are my choices?
Yeah.
And I get people with that same thing. I'm like, I eat this shit and I'm fine. I feed my cancer patients protein, a little bit, but I'm focusing on the vegetables and the healthy fats. Like, it's fine. But guess what? They can still have a little bit of carb.
Right.
It's depending on what the situation is, you just manipulate things.
They cherry pick the information, and so all they're going to tell you is that aspartame has been considered now classified as a type 2 carcinogen. Guess what else is? Your phone, your cell phone. However, what they fail to tell you is you would have to drink like 96 Diet Cokes a day to get enough aspartame to actually begin to have any negative health effects. But what they tell you is, did you know this stuff is cancer causing? It's now listed as by the way, the WHO can kiss ass after COVID anyways. I don't trust them anyways. But they're like, the WHO has now classified this as a type 2 carcinogen. What that means for you? Cancer. Here, sign up for my free guide where I'm like, it's just like,
It's
It's
a
like,
selling
but you know
tactic.
what else is a type 2? Your makeup that women
Yeah.
put on.
Yes.
Your shoes, the laundry detergent. Like there's so many things that are considered that. But
A lot.
I mean, I'm not going to go drink 96 cans of Diet Dr. Pepper and then, poison myself or cause it. But I'm going to get other issues before I end up getting cancer.
and
from
it's
that.
like, okay, so if we're teaching an individual to have a Diet Coke instead of a regular Coke, I can promise you that drinking way too much high fructose corn syrup is going to cause much more immediate
Yes.
problems than a little small dose of, but it's fear mongering 101. That's what they do. They take very little, they cherry pick information. They don't explain, they never cite their research, and then they blow it up to this big thing. And Gary Brecka's really good at that. Paul Saladino
Jesus
is
Jones.
too.
There's a lot of them. But
Oh,
they
Dave
show the
Asprey's the
studies.
worst.
It's a little screenshot of the study, but they're just showing the title. It's like, okay, that's the title, but what does the research
What's
actually say?
crazy is
And when
sometimes
you
they actually say totally different.
yes, but then when you challenge them, you're like, well, here's another research article that's peer reviewed that actually disproves what you're saying. Like, well, no, that's bullshit. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
so why is my information wrong and yours right? Like science and information, like actual true data doesn't give a fuck about your opinion.
Yeah, it's
What's
like Lane
right
Norton
is
says,
categorically right.
data over
That's
feelings.
what the biggest problem with the social media nowadays. And I mean, we run into this, and you run into this, right? And we always consistently see the bad shit on social media. I'm just like, I cannot do it anymore. Before we move on to the next question, though, which was, what are the changes that would you like to see in social media? In
Grocery stores banning
in the fitness industry. Let's talk about Sheena really quick. How and why did you come up with Sheena? I do love that you portray this individual that are complaining about workouts and food and not following, whatever. You hit it on the money every single time when Sheena comes out. Every time I see Sheena on social media, I'm like, I gotta watch this. And I love the one when you did the where you want to lose or tone up this area of exercise, and then you do this like dumb.
Oh, yeah.
movement.
Good memory.
Yeah, I know. It's great.
So Sheena came up. It's funny, whenever I post her, especially in the beginning, almost all my old clients that were Sheena were like, you are totally making fun of me. And I was like, kind of. Yeah. I've taken all the little bits of clients. Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, kind of, Stephanie. I appreciated your input on this. She was like, glad I didn't know I was doing it. And you know what's odd to me, actually, I think about this, I've thought about this many times, is in the culture we live in, this cancel culture, which has gotten better, but it's still there. I am shocked that I don't get more hate on her. As I was
gonna ask, how much shit do you get?
That's offensive to the transgender community. I've gotten one or two of those. I got 6 negative comments on me showing a Ninja Creamy orange dreamsicle.
Yeah, you posted the other day.
I'm posting toxic chemicals and, and the protein is 30% bioavailable. And I'm like, who told you that? Some jack. Yeah, this guy said, why would you use whey protein? You only absorb 30% of that. I'm like, that's
Can you
not.
show me the
That's what I
data
said.
behind
I said,
that?
do you mind if I'm wrong? I'll eat my words, but send me over the control trial. I'm curious to see. He couldn't. But
Go to PubMed and
I'm
send
like,
me that
I
real
get
quick.
hate on. I'm just like, dude, this is just a low calorie snack for you to do, you pricks. I'm just trying to make your dieting a little easier.
Those people
but
who
on
are saying you're
Sheena, I
posting
don't.
that. But
Sheena, you don't?
The people are saying, oh, you're posting all this shit and these dangerous chemicals. Are those people not commenting on the dudes just literally shooting up trend on social media?
Right.
Where the fuck are you on that post?
Right.
Because that's fine, but God forbid I eat ice cream.
So the question is, do you love, which one do you love more? Do the funny videos with Sheena, or just funny in general, or do more educational? Because I know the educational videos you get a lot of shit on, because I see it, and I understand it. I know exactly what you're saying, but you still get shit on, right? But you, like you said, you never get shit on Sheena, which is so
not
funny.
I thought I would. You know what? I think I don't know which one I enjoyed more. I definitely enjoy Sheena the least because I have to get in this whole. You guys saw it. I have to get in this whole zone for me to And even I was a little. I was actually I don't get embarrassed much, but I was when there was a bunch of people there when we were filming. I was like, all right, I got to get into character, and I'm like,
what the fuck is
I'm
this guy doing?
I mean, because if someone didn't know, I would think the same thing. I'd be like, well, that's fucking really that's something going on over there. And Yo has helped me do hip thrusts. I'm like, all right.
I loved when you guys did that.
We need to do it again.
You know what? I think I enjoy. I think I enjoy the educational content more because I think are we after influence or are we after impact? And that's like, there's really two, like, influence is like cool, like people like, you know, like maybe you can even get someone to like try something, you know, oh, I was influenced to try your, you know, your Ninja Creamy thing, but truly making an impact where like a random follower's like, dude, I've taken so much of your advice, I'm down 30 pounds, like I don't have money for a coach, and I'm like, that's cool.
Holy shit. Yeah.
Like that means more to me. So yes, the funny ones do better in the algorithm. They're easier, they're more clickbait, but I think what I genuinely enjoy, even if a reel doesn't perform as well, is if like I get comments like, "Damn, like that's exactly what I needed to hear." And so
I get that a lot too. Yeah.
and I like doing a lot of principle based content, which you do well, which is more like just the deep stuff, like either my opinions or clients' situations, or like you'll do those ones where you're like talking through with a client.
Yeah.
And even then, dude, as your following starts to grow more, you could have the most beautiful story of a girl crying, working out with you, so proud of herself, and you're coaching her through it, and you will get some dickheads.
Oh, we do.
That are like, oh, yeah, that was staged. Oh, like, or just like whatever.
She's still
And it's
fat.
like,
It's like, that's not the fucking point of the video, dude. Like, come on.
100%.
It's not even the point of the video. Yeah,
That's where if they talk shit on the people who are in my reel ever, that's when like my blood, I'll delete the comment and block them. Like I could have thick skin for that, but I had a reel almost to 1 million views talking about Jen's MS, which I, for the record, thought that one would do okay. I was just giving her a shout out, just proud of her. She has MS, she battles through it. By the way, she's always loved you. Even back in the day, I'm like, I don't know about that guy.
yeah.
Only because some other things
I know.
at the time.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh no, he's super legit. He's like the nicest guy ever. I was
He's
like,
not
all right,
like
cool.
the other guy. You're like, oh, okay.
We know the other guy.
We've been joking around a little bit, but what would you say is the most rewarding part about what you do? And you can keep it short, but
You can't really articulate that as much in necessary. Like you can explain it in an Instagram caption, but even like if someone's like, you know, made good physical transformation, but the inside is like the real prize here. Like, holy shit, they're like dating again for the first time. They were terrified for years. Their self-confidence is up.
Taking
they
can
can
full
go,
body pictures.
Yeah, they can have
That's
a
a
piece of
huge-
cake at wedding and not have 10 or have to restrict. They're not binging and restricting anymore. Like like those stories get to me more. And sometimes it's hard to articulate that in like you can in a post, but like just visually. But man, like that's the real prize. Like I've always said, if you do this fitness journey right, the physical results become the icing on the cake. Yep. Like the cake is built with the human you become, because I believe this journey can teach you so much about patience, about persistence, about acceptance, about action, about like, I always say my best clients are the ones who've been the most successful long-term compared to the ones who haven't. It's not that they never fell off, and I know you guys can relate with this. It's their ability to get back on track was greater than the ones who didn't. Correct. They were merely willing to get up quicker and get back on the wagon and learn from their mistakes more effectively and efficiently than my clients who weren't. So
well, I heard something that someone said, perseverance and the willingness to give up come from the same part of the brain. So when you're in that situation, you're faced with a challenge.
I like that a lot.
But it's easier to give up than it is to persevere. But then when you do, it almost turns into like a little bit of an addiction. Like, well, fuck, if I could do that, you know, what can't I do? And they start 100%. And they go push. And that's something we tell them. It's like, you're going to fail. You're going to give up. But once you start treating your body with respect, the brain, I say it all the time, the brain's going to do this funny thing where it's like, hey, Brad, we got some fucking things we need to talk about that you've been burying. But now that you're taking care of me, let's resolve this finally. So you got two choices. Are you going to let the brain give up, or are you going to persevere, resolve it, and become a new version of you? It's an identity shift, and you've learned self-love and self-respect.
Yes.
It's hard as hell, but once you do that, that's where, okay, you've won.
Yeah, that's good.
And
fear and excitement come from the same part of the brain too, and so understanding they're actually kind of the same thing.
Yeah, it almost is.
Last part of the question that I want to ask, I know you got to go, and which is the coaching philosophy, right? So, what is your philosophy when it comes to coaching? Do you have more lifestyle? Do you have any competitors? Do you do more macro base or meal plans? What does that look like?
We almost predominantly do lifestyle. That being said, I do have a client in Minnesota right now who I've been with 18 months. We've done a lot of deep work on a relationship with food, and she wants to compete. And so I'm kind of guiding her through that right now. Candidly, I told her, I said, I might pass you off, hopefully in a good position for somebody 12 weeks out, because it's just not what I do anymore. Yeah. And she's like, well, you know how to do it. I'm like, well, know how to do it and do it well are two different things. I haven't coached anybody for a show in 4 years. And so we're lifestyle, and because all the wins we're talking about, like, and really our target market is really parents trying to go from average to, elite, and not just with their physical bodies, which is one part of it, but all the other shit we're talking about, like learning to prioritize themselves. Like moms are horrible at that.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, oh, guess what? Like, you're not selfish if you go get a workout in.
Yeah.
In fact, it's the most selfless thing you could do because you will come back more patient. I loved it. I saw Nick. I was filming at Eddie's gym, at you guys' gym, and I saw him there with his kid, and I was like, his baby was like 2 months old at the time, but I was like, hell yeah. Parents would be like, well, it's in a little car seat. Like, go take him there.
Yeah.
And you guys have the liberty you can, but even like dropping that baby off at your parents'
There's
house,
someone who can watch them for 30 minutes to an hour.
They're going to love to see that little
or
baby.
put him down for the nap.
Yeah.
Like I tell my wife, like, hey, when Mila goes down for her nap, like, okay, let's get a workout in the living room. I'll help you out. And there you go. There's always a way to do it.
Yes.
Did
So-
becoming a parent change you?
Oh yeah, dude.
Guys,
The
like-
baby comes out, shit changes. You can't fundamentally describe it, and
No.
that's why I got passionate about helping moms and dads, because we do. It's really easy to, and you can be an elite parent and also be in really good shape, and that's where you guys see people struggle too. And that's why we try to bridge that gap. But
it's one or the other, not both.
yeah. And so we do, we do a mix of macros and meal plans. I find probably my most successful clients do a hybrid approach. So they follow a meal plan, but they also track, especially if on weekends, they want a little more flexibility. And, have them track on MyFitnessPal, and we check those food logs. And we were strictly meal plans. And then I was like, these don't work because all our people keep coming back. And so then we went strictly macros. And then I was like, nobody knows what they're doing with this. And so then and now it's really per client. We do try to, we teach tracking along the way, but, it's kind of a hybrid approach now. And it really is going, if somebody's really good, they've already tracked macros before, I'll give them a meal plan guide, but I know they know what they're doing. They really need, sometimes they're coming for all the other areas, right? The mental, emotional, spiritual. And so, dude, I think we align really well of trying
We're the same. We started with the meal plan, and what we figured out was the same thing. Like, they're relying on us way too much on the meal plan.
Yeah.
And then you said they keep coming back, and then we go from we start with the meal plan first, and then they have to graduate into macros. Because if you don't have the discipline to follow a meal plan, you're not going to have a discipline to follow macros. Because you're going to
have to put yourself on your own meal plan when you do macros, or be very strategic. This is not you can't just track at the end of the day and hit your numbers. You got to be like, hold on, there's so many carbs and fats I have left. And that takes even a deeper level of discipline. Even though you have more freedom, there's, I even think, more discipline, which is interesting because people will be like, oh, I should have to eat the same thing. Well, you don't have to think about it. You just pull it out and eat it.
Correct.
When you're actually really trying to eat clean and track macros, you have to be very intentional of your thought. I'm already thinking through, all right, what am I having for dinner? I'm going to reverse engineer that to here. That's not.
I'll go in and track everything for the day, and then look what my final numbers are, and I manipulate it. I'm like, okay, so here's my meal plan for the day. But if I eat all of this in this quantity, it's going to hit my macros. Done, and then I have one less thing to have to worry about.
Last and final question.
Yeah.
What is your advice for the people that went through kind of like a similar journey as you are, as successful as you are today? What was your advice to people or to clients that are listening to this podcast right now?
I think just you got to take this shit one day at a time, whether it's recovery, whether it's fitness. I think that is a model that works, and that doesn't mean you can't have big goals, but it means living in the present moment and not getting too far ahead. If you got 50 pounds to lose, sometimes it's hard, and you see the light at the end of the tunnel seems so dark, and that seems so daunting. And so, maybe you just start with just today, right? Executing. And so I think just start today. And also, that what I said before, just remember, I said this to my client, and we can wrap this up. She was like, and then my friend, she's pushing, she's menopausal, dropped 14 pounds in 18 weeks, 20 weeks. This has not been a fast process. She's like, I saw my neighbor, and she's down 14 in 1 month with Ozempic, right? Or trizepatide. And I'm like, I was like, yeah, but you know what the difference is? I think something I told her, I said, this is all going with your question. I think that one reason these people are gaining the weight back, a lot of them aren't changing their habits. They're just eating significantly less. But I said, they also don't have to go through the fucking journey.
No.
They don't have to go through. Those pounds do not mean as much to her as they mean to you. She might have got them in 30 days, and yours has taken 4.5 months. But those pounds mean so much. Think about how excited you are, Nicole, when you drop 1 pound on the scale. This girl's dropping 1 pound every 2 days. She's just like, cool, I'm down again. Who cares?
At the end of the day, what did she learn?
Yeah,
Nothing.
nothing.
No self-respect, no self-love, no
No new
habit
habits.
changes, nothing. It's, I can eat in and out after I get my shot, and I'm going to lose weight.
Exactly. The journey is the beautiful part of this, and that's what builds all the shit we're talking about is built in the journey. And when you try to fast forward through that journey and not have to go through the work, your chances of succeeding are significantly less.
Yep.
So,
Dude, I appreciate you being on, man. This has
Thank
been
you.
a great podcast. This has been a lot. We covered a lot, and I hope you guys enjoy this podcast because
Yeah, it was great.
I've wanted Brad to be on our podcast for a very, very long
we've
time.
talked
In
about it for a
fact, right after I did your podcast, I said I want you to be one of my
Yeah.
very, very, very first special guests. And the thing that I want to tell you, Brad, is that we see what you're doing. We see the
Thanks, bro.
changes
I
that you're making.
appreciate
Changes. We see that you're
Likewise.
impacting. Yeah, you're impacting a lot of things. A lot of the stuff that you do motivates me to do better, or I'll be like, oh, actually, you know what? That's a great idea, and I'll make a little twist and do my own thing.
Beautiful.
So you definitely shine such a huge light in.
You're a sense of fresh air in the sense
Yeah.
of we see, especially locally, so many shit bags in the industry. And then when we see you, we're like, okay, thank God.
Yeah.
Like we have someone to look up to.
And
Thank
when
you.
Brad
That
said
means
the
a lot
same
to me.
thing,
Creating a guide
when
for
Brad
us.
said the same thing about us, about our company, dude, I was.
I
like,
speak so highly of you guys. I mean that too.
We appreciate it, dude. Thank you.
I do. You guys do it right, and I think that's so important. To we all collaborate together. Like we're not competitive. Like we're actually all on the same team because we're fighting all the misinformation and jackass coaches out there. Like, and there are so many people that need to get in shape. Like the audacity and the ego that people are like, I don't want to tell you my idea, bro. If we all just sat down and smoking a cigar. I know for a fact you guys would tell me what's been working for you guys. I would tell you what works for me.
Yeah,
like
and then
from
we
a
go
business
try it.
standpoint.
Yeah.
And then we're all sharing ideas.
You know
But
what?
competitors aren't a bad thing because if you don't have competition, you don't grow.
Yeah,
If I have
exactly.
competition and I'm like, this is, I'm going to see if I can beat Johan this month.
You know
I'm gonna see
what?
if I can beat Brad
We
this
should
month.
set that up. We should set up the cigar.
I got like
nights.
100 cigars at home.
do it.
We set up cigar night. Yeah. I know. Colton was like, "Let's do it." We should definitely do that.
Let's do
but
it. Yeah.
Thank you for being on, man.
Thank
this
you
has
guys.
been great.
Dude.
This is great. You guys were great hosts. I appreciate it.
I want to let everybody know. Thank you for sharing our podcast on YouTube and Spotify, sharing our reels. I know we're trying to make an impact with this industry, and it's a lot of hard work. And thank you to Colton for running everything in the background as well, and Coach Nik for co-hosting with me. And that's actually Brad's idea. He goes. So I asked him, I was like, what are the mistakes, that you've made?
Yeah.
He goes, always have a co-host. I'm like, done.
Yep.
He's my permanent co-host.
Yeah.
I'm
Literally.
here all the time. I was like, it's going to be a one-off thing. And then almost every Saturday, I'm like, sorry, babe, I got a podcast.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got to go by.
Thanks for being on, man.
All right. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Dude.